Okay, everybody, here we are, 16 videos in, and I'm getting around to my first Chuck Norris movie? I mean, really? What the fuck? Okay, everybody, there are no Chuck Norris movies like the early Chuck Norris movies, and that's what we're checking out today. We're going back to 1980 to look at the Octagon. But before we go any further, as always, and once again, to the trailer.
Will admit they still exist.
Does anyone know?
Efficient killers who work in silence, secrecy, darkness. Unholy masters of terror. By magic. The man he once called brother is now his deadly enemy. He must find the strength to become everything he hates.
I wanted you because you could succeed. I need your help.
A professional who wants targets.
If you saw ninjas, you're seeing ghosts.
An heiress who wants revenge.
I want to know who they are.
I know who they are.
Everybody wants something from him. A prisoner of his own destiny. He will find freedom only one way.
You don't torment me anymore, Sakura.
Carlson, Leigh Van Cleef, the Octagon.
Okay, this little gem was directed by Eric Karson. Not much of a directing career, let's be brutally honest. He did stuff that you might remember, a couple titles here and there. He did Angel Town, he did Opposing Force, he did a Black Eagle, and he was a producer on some other shit like, Lionheart and Nemesis. But that's it. This guy is not Spielberg, and you're going to figure that out when you watch this motion picture. Okay, playing Scott James. And why do they always have names like Scott James? It's Chuck Norris. Now, we all know and love Chuck Norris. Come on, man. He's part of Americana. He's part of the lexicon of the country. But before he became an action star, he was a military vet, he was a martial arts champion, and then he went on to get brought into movies by the one and only Bruce Lee in Way of the Dragon. But hey, let's get going on with his own career. He's been in stuff like Breaker Breaker. He's been in Good Guys Wear Black, An Eye for an Eye, Silent Rage, Delta Force, and Invasion USA, and Missing in Action, and his all-time, to me, great motion picture, Lone Wolf McQuade, with David Carradine. Now that's the shit. You gotta check that one out. That's like a mandatory must. I mean, he's been in other shit that really sucked, like, Hero and the Terror and whatever. It's Chuck Norris, all you need to know. Okay, playing Justine is Karen Carlson. Now, she was in some stuff you're going to remember, a couple movies, mostly TV, but away we go. She was in stuff like The Student Nurses and The Candidate, but like I said, mostly TV. Heart to Heart, Spencer for Hire, Lou Grant, The Incredible Hulk, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, as good as that was. Yes, maybe, kind of, no. And she was in T.J. Hooker with William Shatner. So, had a good career, showed up, might recognize her face, might recognize a few things she was on, but she was in this, and it is what it is. Okay, playing McCarn. Another one of them fucking names. McCarn is the legendary, the stupendous, the one, the only Leigh Van Cleef. Yeah, he's in this thing. I don't know, but he's in it, and he's Leigh Van Cleef. And we're going to go through his list of shit, because his list of shit is legendary. Now, of course, for me, he'll always be Hulk from Escape from New York. But he's been in other stuff too, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, For a Few Dollars More, and Death Rides a Horse, and Captain Apache, and Sabata, and Return of Sabata, and he was in tons of TV shows back in the 60s. Leigh Van Cleef is a fucking legend. Okay, playing AJ is Art Hindle. And we just talked about Hindle a couple episodes ago because he was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So we're going to cover him again, okay? All right, let's go. He was in stuff like Porky's and Black Christmas and Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Brood. Tons of TV work. You know, Barnaby Jones and Dallas and Murder, She Wrote and Beverly Hills 90210, Paradise Falls. And he even popped up on Walker, Texas Ranger. Oh, how fucking cool is that? They were reunited. Okay, playing Aura was Carol Bagdasarian. She had a super small career, basically almost non-existent. But she was in this. She was in TV shows like, you know, Harry O and Man X and, you know, Ironside and Lou Grant, and she's even popping around on General Hospital for a bit. I don't know how she didn't have a bigger career because, you know, she was kind of hot looking, you know, had a distinctive look to her, but is what it was. Never took off, but she was in this, and who gives a shit beyond that? Because that's all that matters. And of course, there's other people that pop up in this movie. You have Richard Norton, who was in all those, like, you know, flicks and shit, and the karate flicks in the 80s and 90s. You know, he popped up with Cynthia Rothrock a couple times, shit like that. You had Tadashi Yamashita, who is actually a martial arts kind of like, you know, pseudo legend. He was in some other martial arts flicks. Shit. Even Ernie Hudson pops up in this motion picture. So you have a good list of people backing this thing up, faces you remember, people you might not know, but they're in it, and that's all that matters. Hey, let's just get to the story. Okay, everybody, I'm going to keep this to 90 seconds or less, but the story is so convoluted and mixed up and silly and stupid and all this other kind of shit that it's almost impossible to explain in 90 seconds, so I'm going to fly through this shit really fast. You got Chuck Norris playing Scott James, former military man, former martial arts champion. Hey, real nice to see Chuck branching out from something other than himself. Anyway, he goes out with his friend AJ, they go to the ballet, whatever, they meet this chick, he goes back to her apartment, she gets killed by ninja. Whatever, shit happens. You meet a chick at the ballet, weird fucking shit can happen. Anyway, he starts to get wrapped up in what happened, why this happened, how this happened, whatever. Before you know it, he meets another chick, a rich chick, with a car broken down on the side of the road. She's recruiting him for something. He doesn't know it. She's using him. He figures it out. She's looking for guys to help her go out and kill the leader of this ninja cult named Sakura. But the problem is that Scott James and Sakura were raised as brothers in the Far East. What? How does this happen? Who the fuck knows? They don't explain it. You just have him as a boy, and you have Sakura as a boy when they're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 20 years old, whatever, training together side by side, and Sakura's a jealous little prick. So the guy training them, their adopted dad, I guess, or whatever, he just takes and splits them up, sends Sakura on his way to stew in bitterness and hate, and Scott James goes on his way to go be in the military and be a world martial arts champion. Happens every fucking day. Anyway, Scott James figures out that the only one that can be training ninjas is Sakura, because the only two people on the planet who really know anything about ninja is himself and Sakura. Puts them on a collision course. So he says, I gotta go meet up with these guys. I gotta infiltrate. I gotta find out what's going on. So what's he do? He looks in the newspaper under an ad that says mercenaries, call here. Fucking is what it is. And he goes and he gets involved and the shit breaks loose. That's, well, okay, let me tell you one more thing. His friend AJ, who just really idolizes him and wants to be him, but can't really be him, he jumps into it too, and he gets lured in by a chick, and now he's got to go rescue AJ because he's a fucking idiot, and he ain't as good as Scott James, and you know, you've seen that shit before. Whatever. In the end, it's just Scott James at the Octagon fighting the baddies. Okay, folks, I'm going to tell you what makes this motion picture. Chuck Norris, period, point blank. I personally love the early movies of Chuck Norris. We're talking Breaker Breaker. We're talking Silent Rage. We're talking An Eye for an Eye. Good Guys Wear Black. All that kind of shit. I didn't like his later career. Once he did Lone Wolf McQuade, which to me is the pinnacle of his success. After that, everything was kind of like, Whatever. It got fucking goofy and kind of stupid. This is when he was still young enough, too, to make it really fun and entertaining. He was 40 years old in this. He'd still get the legs up in the air, still kick people in the face, still look really believable, still look really good. Didn't have to rely on just a big machine gun and shit to do his thing. He was being Chuck Norris. This motion picture also is loaded with every fucking stereotype you could have imagined. It was hilariously, like you watch all the Mercenaries, there's like, the 2 Mexican guys, the 2 Middle Eastern guys, there's an Asian dude, a couple of Irish guys. There was just somebody went out and just said, hey, make this diverse, and they went to town. The action is fun, the action is kind of hokey, there's car chases, there's machine gun fire, there's chicks being banged by Chuck Norris, or at least potentially banged by Chuck Norris. Some of them die first, is what it is. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a brilliant motion picture. I'm not going to say this is the best directed motion picture in the world. Is it directed well? Yeah, whatever. Good enough for what it is. Is it acted well? It is what it is. My favorite quote ever about Chuck Norris was when he was talking to David Carradine. He says, you're about as good a martial artist as I am an actor. That's all you need to know. The rest of the crew fills it in. You had some real actors in there, and they're trying. Of course, you got Leigh Van Cleef and Art Hindle floating around. They're trying to make this thing believable and whatever, but this motion picture is literally about car chases, machine gun fire, ninjas, karate kicks, and Chuck Norris being chased after by numerous hot chicks. That's basically it. Yeah, they overtake the plumbing. Yeah, they overcomplicate it. Yeah, they didn't have to make this motion picture as nearly as ridiculously plot twisty, everybody's involved and trying to do something as it was. It could have been much simpler. It could have been much more straightforward. But they tried. They tried to make this a little bit above your typical hop, chop, chop, whack type motion picture. They tried to make it more than something like, goofy and silly like maybe Silent Rage would be. They tried to do more with it than that. But it's still good. It's still enjoyable. It's still better than most of those Steven Seagal fucking movies. It is what it is for its time, and it's perfect for its time. Anyway, folks, go out and look at the Octagon. Sometimes people forget the Octagon. They focus too much on Lone Wolf McQuade. They focus too much on Invasion USA. They focus too much on fucking Delta Force, and they sure as fuck focus way too much on Missing in Action. Those ones just didn't do anything for me. But you show me those early Norris flicks, you show me Chuck when he was in his prime, always playing some guy that was like a retired fighter or some guy that was like retired military, and those are the movies that I love. His acting is wooden, but it doesn't mean shit when it's Chuck fucking Norris. Because remember, folks, Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the world down. Anyway, take it easy. Have a good one. Take care. Take care. Take care. And take care of yourself. Peace.